Hello everyone, it's the 2x4 Chef, and today I'm going to make one of my favorite dishes. My award-winning smoked chili. And why is it my favorite dish? Chili is like a big hug from your mom. What more can you say? And if not, a big warm hug from your dad. There's different kinds of chilies out there in the world. You can find something you like, something you dislike. Of course, I like mine the best. I have tasted a lot of chilies, great chilies everywhere. I came up with this recipe. It's not that difficult to do, and I'm going to take you through it and use really cool ingredients, a little bit of different stuff. So let's get started while we have everything rolling. A lot of people, what I like to cook with a lot is bacon fat. And for most of us in a small kitchen who don't have the space, who don't like dealing with bacon, you don't have to use it. You can use olive oil instead to take care of your onions. So what we're going to do is I want to get the onions started. So what I'm going to do is I'm taking my bacon fat, and you can see I have a really nice big jar of bacon fat. Bacon fat has a lot of flavor. It gives a whole nother complexity to any food or any time you cook with it. There's a lot of guys out there who use it now instead of using butter. I don't cook with a lot of butter. I mostly use olive oil, as most of you know if you've seen most of my videos. But for some certain things, to me, bacon fat is the king. You can't beat it, and if you can't beat it, you join it. And I just tell all of you it's the best way to go. Not only does it smell amazing, it tastes amazing. So it's very cool. And I stick about 2 tablespoons in my pot. Now, when you're making chili, also you have to remember, you want to use a pretty good, and let me get a paper towel here, to wipe off my hands. You want to have a nice heavy bottom pot. And this is the pot that I use. This is called a Le Creuset pot. It's a heavy cast iron pot that's coated in an enamel. They're made in France. They're expensive. Look, I've gotten these over the years. In cooking, I have a collection of them. They're awesome. If you don't have one, you can get a nice heavy bottom steel pot. There's just always, when you're dealing with learning how to use your different type of pots, especially when I'm using electric stovetop, so I really don't have a lot of adjustment. But when you're using this type of pot, it conducts the heat very evenly. It cooks beautifully. You can also stick it in the oven, use it as a casserole pot. That's why I like this. So the bacon fat's melted. What we're going to do is we're going to add 1 whole chopped Vidalia, which is a sweet onion. And if you can't get a Vidalia onion, or they're a little too expensive, you can go ahead, and we'll get all that in there, you can go ahead and use whatever you want as an onion. If you want to use Spanish onion, go ahead. It really doesn't matter. I like a sweet onion. It doesn't overpower. It cooks up beautifully, and it's going to cook up real nice. And once again, one of my favorite flavors and smells in the kitchen is cooking onions and cooking garlic, and you just can't beat that. It just really brings everything to you that you would love when you want to smell up your house. Okay, so we're going to cook up the onions. It's going to take about 5 to 7 minutes, and I'm going to show you the other ingredients I'm using. Now what we're also using is ground beef, about 1.25 pounds. Now, here's the tricky part. Most of you, I guarantee you, do not have a smoker. I fortunately do, and I have a place that I can use it. Now, what I did is I bought 1.25 pounds of ground beef, and I put it into my smoker for about an hour, and now I have smoked ground beef. The other alternative thing to do is if you have a grinder, which if you don't want to take time to deal with it, or don't have a grinder, just get regular ground beef. If you want to do smoky chili, you can buy what's called liquid smoke. Now, liquid smoke is an all-natural product. It's liquid, and when you open it up, it has a big smoky smell. And how is that made? Well, what they do is they take wood chips and run clean smoke through them through heat, and it condenses and creates evaporated liquid into the wood chips, and they drip off. And what they're dripping off is this beautiful smoke flavor, and it's condensed, and then they bottle it. So it's an all-natural product. You can see on the bottom of the bottle here, that's the liquid smoke. That's the burn part, which condenses on the bottom. If you want to use this, if you don't have a smoker, then use it. I suggest putting about maybe a teaspoon to a teaspoon and a half max in your chili, or less. It's very, very, very strong. I've used it before when I haven't had time to use my smoker, but fortunately this past weekend had a lot of friends over and I made some really cool stuff with my smoker, and I thought ahead because I'm making you guys chili today. So we're gonna make sure that this is doing fine, and when you're using any type of pot that's a ceramic or a non-stick, always use either a spatula or a wooden spoon. Do not use metal again. As told you before, you don't want to scrape off and ruin your pots and pans. Very important. With steel ones, it doesn't matter. You can use steel on them, wood, whatever you want. Let's get back to our ingredients. I'm using red kidney beans. Now, this is chili with beans, so chili con carne. Some people are against using beans. I like it both ways. I like this because it's a great simple meal. And when you buy a can of beans, this is a 15-ounce can of red kidney beans. They're very inexpensive, they're very healthy, they're good for you. There's nothing wrong with it. We also have tomato paste. I also have my a tablespoon of cumin, and underneath this is a tablespoon of dried oregano leaves. It's very important. I have 4 cloves of garlic that have been chopped, which are going to go in very soon. I have a tablespoon of brown sugar. I'm also using ancho powder, pure ancho powder. There's 2 tablespoons of pure ancho powder. Now, if you smell this, it smells like the earth. It's amazing. There are ancho chilies that are dried and ground up. They're readily available at a lot of stores now because the cross-culture of cooking now that we have in society, there's ingredients everywhere. Now, if you can't find pure ancho powder, buy regular chili powder, which is several ingredients mixed together to create chili powder. So you can get that. It's readily available. I have a good supply of ancho powder and I use it all the time. I also have a rub that I use for when I'm making barbecue. Then I'm using a tablespoon of that. Now, if you can't get the rub, or obviously you can't get the rub, I don't sell it. If you'd like to try it, I'll send you a small little sample of it. It's no big deal. It's very cool stuff. You can send me a note at chef, the 2x4 chef at att.net. It's very cool. If you can't get these ingredients, then just use straight chili powder. So you're going to use 3 tablespoons of chili powder. What we're also going to use, is a dark beer. You can use Guinness, you can use a Bock, an Amber Bock, you can use a Black and Tan, Belgian beers if you like it a little sweeter. For me, I like a dark, rich, sweet beer in my chili. Very, very important to use. And also what I'm going to do right now, just to back out of the ingredients for a minute, is I'm going to add my garlic in. And get everything into the pot, put that in there. We're going to stir that up. And I'm only going to cook it for a little bit. We don't really have to cook the garlic down that much. You don't want to burn or get the onions too brown. It adds a real nutty flavor. And in chili, we don't want a nutty flavor. We want a real bold, earthy flavor, which is the way to go with it. So after we do with the garlic and that, we're going to pour in our spices in a minute, and we're going to let that cook for just a second. And what I'm going to do in the meantime is I also use whole tomatoes. You can see I have a whole bowl here. Now this is a big 32-ounce can of whole tomatoes peeled that you can buy anywhere in the stores. You can buy very expensive San Marzano tomatoes if you want. You can buy the inexpensive kind. For this recipe, it's your call. What I'm doing is I'm crushing the tomatoes in my hand, just like this. Why? I love the texture. It gives it a nice texture. Instead of buying crushed tomatoes, which are really crushed down, it's almost like having a tomato puree. I don't like the texture like that in my chili. This adds another dimension of texture to your chili. You'll be pleasantly surprised in how nice it is, because it also cooks down the tomatoes when you get them in there. So now you be careful, because these are full of juice. And if you take them out of the pan here and you squeeze them, you're going to get it everywhere. Trust me. And I have really big hands. Even with my big hands, see how it squeezes out? You don't want to hold it out there. Look, if you want to have fun and clean up the mess later, more power to you. Personally, for me, the less I have to clean, the better. I did get some all over here. And what I like to do is I like to clean as I go. So I always say it's easier to clean as you go than cleaning when you're done. Now, our onions and garlic are ready. And I can show you that very quickly. See that? Oh my God, the smell is amazing. And what we're going to do now is we're going to add in our cumin, oregano, and the chili powders, and we're going to stir it up. Why are we doing this? I like to do this while it's cooking. Why? It breaks it down a lot better. It adds another dimension of when you're cooking it, to cook it in with the vegan fat. And you know, some people, what they do with their chilies is they just throw everything in together. And I don't do that. I call this layering. And you want to layer. Why? It breaks it down. It breaks down, the fat breaks down the chilies. It toasts the chilies for a little bit, which is not a bad thing. You don't want it on too high of a flame. You want this on a really medium flame, not too high. And you only want to do this for about a minute. I'm going to show you what it looks like. See all the chilies in there? Now they're all broken down, and what they'll start to do is they'll start to sweat out. And everything will sweat out together. And what happens sometimes is if you just pour it in, and you pour in your juices and you pour in your liquids, you know what? Sometimes it just doesn't blend up that well, and you don't get that smoky, sweet flavor that you would normally get if you put all your chilies and oregano and cumin together. And the smell in here is so amazing, I'm getting dizzy. Now, another thing we add, we also use a stock. I use chicken stock because it's readily available. You can use veal stock if you can get it. You can't buy veal stock in a store. It's very, very difficult to buy. You can use beef stock because you are actually using beef. I think the beef stock's a little too rich because you already have a lot of richness going in here. So that's why I like using the chicken stock. It's a free-range chicken stock. You can get it anywhere. I don't use low sodium. I don't believe in it unless your guests or the people you're making dinner for have a salt restriction. Then by all means watch your salt with that. But with this, I always use regular, nice free-range chicken stock that's readily available everywhere. So now we're going to add in our beef. So here's our beef, our smoked ground sirloin, and there's some fat on the bottom too, which is really great because you want to have all that fat in there. Try to use or buy the ground beef that's 80-20, 20% fat, 80% lean. If you can buy a steak, a chuck steak that has a lot of fat on it and grind it up, I prefer it that way personally, because you get a lot more fat. Look guys, fat is flavor. I'm sorry, if you're watching your weight and your waistline and you want less fat and you're worried about your cholesterol, by all means use a leaner cut of beef, and if you do get a leaner cut of beef, you'll have less fat. Nope, there's nothing against it. I just add more flavor for me. That's how I like it. But here at the 2x4 Chef, I want to be able for you to be able to enjoy what you eat, but not feel like your hands are tied. Because it's very important today to make an economical meal that tastes amazing, that you can, a meal like this, if you're a single person or you have it's you and your partner, your wife, after you make this, you can freeze us up into containers and have it for a month. When you want chili, you just pull it out of the freezer and boom, there you go. You just heat it up in your microwave or put it in the pot and you have chili, which I could eat chili every day. It's my favorite thing to do. You also, for all the sports that are going on now, you're coming into the World Series soon, the playoffs, football just started. Hey guys, there's nothing better than a nice bowl of chili, a brew, sitting in front of the TV on a Sunday, come on. You don't have to go out for that. You can stay home. It's less expensive. You know, for about a pound and a quarter of ground beef, it's about $5 or $6 depending on where you live. If you live in New York City, yes, it's going to cost you more. But for some of us that don't live in New York City, it's a little less pricey, but you can still get a good cut of beef, ground beef. There's some stores now that have a variety, ground chuck, sirloin, prime, depending on the store. There are a lot of gourmet stores out there that really cater to what your needs are. And if you only can get one type of ground beef at the store, hey, it's fine. With all these beautiful ingredients, it's really not gonna hurt you. It's gonna be awesome any way you slice it. So now we've cooked that, and let me show you. Look at that. See how dark and rich that beef is? Why is that? That's from all those chilies, the mixed chilies, the oregano, the cumin, and right now I could just grab a bowl and just eat this like this, but we're not going to. Why? Well, we need to finish our dish. So now becomes fun part. We're going to add in most of the rest of our ingredients. We're going to add also a special ingredient. First, we're going to add in our brown sugar. Why do I use brown sugar? Well, brown sugar is a combination of sugar and molasses. You can get light brown sugar. I really don't like it. I like, dark brown sugar. I like that heavy molasses in there. It adds another layer, dimension of flavor to your meat here. It's just really wild. And I like my chilies really deep, rich red. So we just quickly add that in, and that's going to just quickly break down. I'm going to turn up the heat, and now we're going to add our tomatoes in. And remember, when you're adding stuff into hot pots, you always want to pour away from you. So let me move this out of the way, and so you can pour it away from you so it doesn't splatter on you. If it does splatter a little, it's going to go away from you. There's nothing worse than getting splattered if it's hot, if it's cold. We're going to add in our chicken stock, just like that. We're going to add in our beans. We're going to add in our beer. It's the best part. Well, it's almost the best part. I'm lying. Beer adds such a dimension to food when you're cooking with it. There's some great recipes out there now. There's something called beer can chicken, which is very cool. Basically, it was started by this person. I think it was a woman in California or something. And what she did is she took a can of beer, opened it up, took a whole chicken, and stuck the chicken on top of it and threw it on the grill. What happens is the heat boiled up and steamed up the beer, and it just makes this amazing chicken. We're also going to add in one bay leaf. Very important. Bay leaf is one of my favorite spices to use. I use it in a lot of dishes. I use it in my Italian cooking. I use it for making great rubs. If you want a real rustic rub, especially if you're doing a prime rib or a roast or something, mix it with ingredients and break it down. Very special. Now, one other really ingredient that I'm going to use in my chili that makes it unique is I'm adding tequila. You're like, tequila? Wouldn't you rather drink it? Yes, I drink it all the time. I'm a big tequila drinker. But I add about a shot to 2 shots. Now, a shot's about 1.5 ounces. So I don't have my shot glass out, so I'm just going to eye it. And does it really matter? Right there. That's all you need. Now, why tequila? For me, it's the ingredient that I chose that I've been using for years. It adds a really different dimension of flavor. It's different. You know what? It's all about experimenting. If you want to try something in your chili, go for it. If you want to try different chilies, different types of tomatoes, different types of spices, stick to the basics in chili, which is ground beef, cumin, oregano, tomatoes, onions and garlic, and your chili powders, and then you can add different types of flavors. If you want something a little bolder in your chili, let's say chipotle chilies, which are basically jalapenos that are smoked and dried, and boy, they are an amazing chili. I was using those over 20 years ago. They weren't even known. People barely knew what they were unless you knew. A lot of Hispanic people in their culture use it. Mexican food I spent a lot of time on the West Coast. I love Mexican food. I grew up on it. And it's now like super chili. It's in everything. I mean, Tabasco sauce has it. You go to a restaurant, there's a cream sauce with it, this and that with it. Personally, in my chili, when you're serving a lot of different people with it, you have a diverse group, you want to sort of play to the safe side unless you know they like something a little spicy. Because if you've ever had a jalapeno that's been roasted, believe me, the heat intensity on it goes up about 100%. And Chipotle is awesome, but play it safe unless you know your people. Stick to the mild chilies, which is ancho, or just get your chili powder from the store. Now we're going to add a whole can of the tomato paste. Why do we add it? Well, it's a thickener. And if you don't add a thickener, you're not going to use flour, you're not going to use cornstarch, which we'll get into another day, but you use tomato paste. Why? Tomato paste is concentrated tomatoes. There's no liquid in there. It's 100% just concentrated tomatoes into a paste. And what it does is, as you cook, it thickens up what you're cooking. A lot of people use it in spaghetti sauces. If you're making some sauces and you want them to thicken up really easily, another great thing about tomato paste is it doesn't overpower your food. It's very, very easy, cheap, readily available. It adds a sweetness to it. I always like to get better quality tomato paste. Why is that? Cheaper tomato paste doesn't have that sweetness. They use inexpensive tomatoes. I don't like it. I'll pay more. This is Hunt's. Hunt's is a premier brand you can buy. Tomato pastes, there's a lot of them out there. I don't like buying the generic brand. Spend the extra 10 cents. It's really not a lot. Look, if your budget's tight, then fine, but you like to use a better quality tomato paste. Now, we're stirring this up all together, and I'm going to add a little bit of kosher salt from my trusty kosher salt bin, because once again my hands are so big, and I'm taking about a pinch. And as I said before, when I cook, I like to add it later after it cooks. That way I know when you need to what's called adjust your food. Now I'm going to take my fresh pepper. If you don't have fresh pepper, that's fine. Add about 2 teaspoonfuls. I'm going to give it quite a few turns here, because when you're grinding pepper, it takes a bit to get that amount of pepper out. Or if you want, just add a teaspoon of pepper and then add more towards the end. And we're going to get this to a boil, and I'm going to show it to you before it starts boiling, so you can see the difference when I'm finished with it. See that? Now that's chili. Now we need to have it cooked down. Now it's going to take a couple hours for it to cook down. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring it up to a boil, then I'm going to turn it down, and then I'm going to put a cover on it, but I'm going to leave the cover open slightly so the steam comes out. If you keep it covered and the steam will roll around in the pot, it'll create more liquid and go back into your chili. Because when it boils, we're going to turn it down low. We're going to cook it what we like to call nowadays low and slow. So if you keep that liquid going, it's not going to be that thick. Now you can have your chili as thick or thin as you want. Thick or thin as you want. I like my chili a little on the thick side. Now we're going to get this boiling up here, and then I'll see you guys in about I'll see you in about an hour or so, and show you how it's going and when we're going to serve it. Okay, so this is a 2x4 chef. This is our award-winning smoky chili. I know you're going to dig it, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you a little later. Hey guys, 2x4 Chef, I'm back, and guess what? Chili's done. Let's bring it over. It's been a couple hours. I'm going to show you. Look at that. Oh. It's amazing. Now, look at it now. Look at the color, thickened up, all the flavors. The smell's amazing. This is that smoky beef. See how everything's blended together. It's just really fantastic. And I'm going to pour a little in here. Show you. You can serve it. Look at that. You can see the beans and the meat, the dark texture, and the color. When I say like it dark, is because I use that pure ancho powder, chili powder, which is just amazing. And you know what? It's perfect. Okay? And I'll tell you what, if you want this recipe, just send me an email at 2x4chef. That's 2x4chef@att.net. I look forward to hearing from you. Enjoy the chili, it's amazing. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye.